Well, howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. I know it's been a few days since I did a video, and so I wanted to get another one up here for your enjoyment. And today, as part of our Everything Old is New Again, we're going to be working with an Asus laptop. My business partner and my partner in crime, Jerry, has an older Asus laptop. It's a model X54C. And I'm going to bring that information up here on the screen for you so you can see it. There you go. The X54C, the perfect fit for work and play. Now the problem is that this perfect for work and play laptop is not working very well. So let's take a look at the specs here. So it was originally designed for Windows 7 Home Premium. Ice-cooled technology. It has USB 3, palm-proof technology, whatever that means, keeps you from laying your hand on the trackpad and clicking on a button. This model came with either an i3 or a Pentium B940, B950 with Intel HD Graphics 3000. That's the model we have. This one had 4 gig, or has 4 gig of memory on it. It is the i3 variant of the processor, so it's a little higher end than the Pentium. But anyway, there it is. There's the unit, and the one we have has a Core i3 processor. You can see the memory here. The one we currently have has 4 gig. It's upgradable to 8. Came with a 2.5-inch Serial ATA drive. A slow drive. So today what we're going to do is get this thing. The complaint is from his daughter that it's running Windows 7. It's really slow. It's locking up on her all the time, and God knows how many different hands have been put on this laptop. So what we're going to do today is we're going to throw a cheap $40–50 SSD drive in there, and we're going to load Windows 10 on it, and we're going to show you how much potential this unit has. This is why, especially with laptops, I never throw them away. You can basically give yourself a new laptop just by putting an SSD drive in them and doing a clean load of Windows. That usually solves most of your lockup problems. Alright, so this is Jerry, my partner's laptop. It's actually his daughter's laptop. So what we're doing is trying to spoof it up, and we're going to replace the internal spinning hard drive with a SanDisk SSD. So we have an extra one of these. Well, we didn't have one laying around. I'm sacrificing it. Oh, I'm sacrificing it out of the bench unit because we're going to do something different with the bench. So we're going to put this drive into this laptop. I have no idea what specs this laptop are. Right now, it's got Windows 7 on it, I believe. It's an Asus laptop. And let me give you the model number. So it's a model number X54C. The motherboard is the K54C. So we'll look that up. But once we boot up into Windows, we should know what the specs are. So we've got a couple of screws here and here. This tells us this is where the hard drive and the memory are located. So we're going to take out these 2 screws. Some of these laptops have a way to remove the hard drive without having to take a cover off. This is not one of those. So I also want to see if there's a screw hole under there. Yes. Nope, no screw hole. Okay. But we do have a screw hole here. And one here. Just be doubly sure we don't have a screw hole here. I don't think we do. No. Now, in theory, that should just slide to the front. It does. And then off it comes. Now, it must have RAM soldered onto the motherboard, because you see the DIMM slot here, the SODIMM slot, is empty. which means this is specifically for expansion of the RAM only. So I don't see the other, I don't see an SD card in here. I don't see, this is the wireless card here, but I don't see another DIMM slot anywhere in there. So my thinking is that it has RAM built onto the motherboard. And so that really limits how much RAM you can add onto these. Now, so what I'm going to do is take out, since we're going to replace the hard drive with an SSD, we're going to take out this screw, and this screw. And then we should just be able to pull the hard drive using this little piece here forward to get it out. And keep your screws where they, put them right back where they belong, because we're lucky on this one. All these screws seem to be appear to be the same length, but just keep a mental note of where you're taking the screws out of. You want to make sure you don't put a long screw. See, here we go. Put a long screw in a short screw hole, because you will damage the laptop. So I don't see a screw hole there. I see a hole, but I don't see a screw in it. So we should now just be able to pull this forward, and out comes the hard drive, and it's a Seagate 320 gig 5400 RPM drive. And the machine's honestly not too dirty. Alright, so next thing we need to do is take out the two screws holding the hard drive in. And I'm going to keep it in the right orientation. That's how the hard drive needs to go back in there. So, and you see how those screws are shorter? And then the hard drive should just come off. Yep, perfect. Okay, so we'll give this hard drive back to Jerry, and he can do with it what he wants. The data's still on there, so if we need to transfer the data off later, we can. So now I'm going to orient this SSD and put the same screws back in, just two of them. This is a 240 gig, so it's a little lower capacity, but you know, with people saving everything they have on the cloud, it doesn't really make any difference. So, line up the holes. Okay, so there we go. SSD drive is mounted. Just two screws holding it in. Now we're going to go ahead and line it up. And slide it back in. Lift this little tab back. Make sure we're making good contact. Make sure our screw holes are lined up. And then put our three screws back in. If we had some more RAM, my fear is this unit may only have 2 gig of RAM. I hope I'm wrong, because we'll need to order some more RAM for this. 2 gig is, Windows 10 will run on it, but not very well. I don't recommend it. So if it has less than 4 gig, we'll have to order a RAM upgrade for it. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Now, let's go ahead and put the cover back on. I'm going to go ahead and wipe this off. It's not real dusty, so that's good. Because usually these things fill with dog hair, pet hair, and become very dusty. But that's not the case with this one. How's the battery on this thing, Jerry? Does it last at all? Or does she use it plugged in all the time?
She used it plugged in all the time.
It's probably got a bad battery.
As much as possible, yeah.
Well, you should anyway. When you're using these at home, the only time you should use these on the battery is when you don't have an alternative to connect up power. So, all right.
She did use it on battery, and I think she maybe got an hour out of a full charge.
Speaking of it, where is the AC adapter?
Over on the bench.
Here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, so we've got Windows 10 Pro loaded on here. And let me tell you, this thing is fast. What I'm going to do is load Specky on here so you can see the actual specs of the of it, but we're connected wirelessly right now to the Uncle Joe's Playhouse network, and I'm going to go down and get a program called Specky. But I just wanted you to see how responsive it was while we were actually using it with a wireless. You know how I feel about wireless. I'm not a big fan of wireless connections, but sometimes it's all you got. And we're using the Unify access points here at Uncle Joe's Playhouse. The Unify access point is over at the other side of the house, so it's about 60 feet from here. It's up on the wall. And I'm going to install Specky across the network, and you see it works fine. Let me go ahead and run Specky. So we didn't know what the specs on this laptop were, but as you can see them now, it's got a Core i3 2350 mobile processor, 4 gig of DDR3 RAM, 665 megahertz. It's a Asus Tech laptop, the K54C. It's got a built-in Intel HD graphics, Model 3000, and you can see this is the SSD drive that we've installed into this unit. So, but this laptop is surprisingly fast for its age. And now we went ahead and ran the Tropics demo. I'm going to do the Sanctuary, and then we're going to do the Heaven benchmark, just to give you an idea. So for Sanctuary, I'm just going to let it run with DirectX 9. I'm going to run the demo. And it doesn't get really good frame rates, but, you know, it's to be expected. But, you know, for online gaming, it should be okay. But I just wanted to give you an idea of the potential of this machine. This would be great for an everyday, you know, computer for your kids or your wife. Or it's not built for gaming, but, you know, most laptops aren't. So I'm going to go ahead and run the benchmark on this, and you'll see up here in the corner we're getting about, I don't know if you can see it or not, but we're getting about 10 frames per second. The maximum was 11.4. It's in stage 1, but it's not too bad of a display. It's got a really nice picture, crisp and clear. I do not think this is a true high-def display. I don't believe the once the benchmark is done, then we'll go out and look at the actual resolution of the screen. But we'll let the benchmark run and come back when it's done. Okay, so here's our Sanctuary demo benchmark test. Not the greatest frames per second, but it's manageable. It's playable. Go ahead and click on Save. I'm going to save this to the desktop, and then I'll close it and exit out. The next benchmark we're going to run is Heaven. But the first thing I want to do is see what I want to enable the temperature monitor. So I'm going to open Core Temp, and then I'm going to minimize that. And then you can see what the current CPU temperatures are and what the maximum are. So I want to see how hot it gets when it runs the Heaven benchmark. Now we should be able to, I'm going to do this custom DirectX 11 high quality, and we're going to run it full screen. So we're going to see how this does. I don't expect to have the best performance out of this, but we're going to put it through its paces. And the other thing I want to do is see how much it heats up the CPUs on this thing. Because the other concern we had on a laptop of this age is, do we need to open it up and clean it out? But it looks like it's running about average CPU temperatures. It's within 40 or 50 degrees of the maximum temperature, which I think is fine. You know, laptops always run hot anyway. This thing is pulling about, at full load, almost 50 watts. At idle, it's pulling about the entry-level 30s, the low 30s. Right now, it's just peaked at 53 watts. So I'm going to go ahead and benchmark this. And we do have the sound turned on. So I don't know if you can see this, but right now we're getting about 5 frames per second, which is about what I expected out of the Heaven benchmark. Is pretty intense. So the maximum we've got is 5.2, and the minimum we've had is 4.8. We'll let this run, and we'll come back when it's completed. So as you can see, it did a frames per second of 6.1, and this is not a high-def monitor. The panel, I should say, it's only 1366 by 768. Well, that was the full screen. I'm going to go ahead and save this. It's only 1366 by 768. So there's your there's your main deal right there. So you won't be doing high def video on here, but you will be able to, you'll be able to play a high def video, but you'll not be able to actually see it in high def in 1080p because of the limitations of the panel. So let's go and let's look at the Game of Thrones, and let me mute the volume. And YouTube, this is fair use. And you see it's autoing at 720p. We can run it up to 1080p, and it plays just fine with over a wireless connection. Let's bring up our stats for nerds and see if we're actually doing it at 1080p. Yeah, at 24 frames per second. You see our throughput's very good. Fair use, YouTube. Yeah, you can see it's working just fine playing a YouTube video at 1080p. Now, the other thing I'd like to do is connect up to my home NAS here, and we're just going to stream a high def. We're just going to direct play a high def video, and there we go. And let's go to video, and you know which video I want to choose. Oh, and you know what? I don't have VLC Media Player on here, so let's get that installed first. And I'm letting you see all this in real time because I want you to see how snappy this machine is. I'm really impressed. I don't know how old this machine is. I would guesstimate 6, maybe 7 years old. You can look up that model that I listed, and you see it's a little slow on refreshing over wireless, but it's not as fast as Ethernet, but it's wireless. But it is acceptable, and if it's able to direct play this video over wireless, then I'll be satisfied with the machine. So it'll take a minute to update. There it goes finally. So yeah, we'll go ahead and load that. You can see once the program comes up, like I said, it's plenty zippy. The temperatures are doing well, about 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so now we've got VLC installed, so now let's go back to our home NAS and our video and our action adventure. We're just going to direct play this. And this is a high def video, so we're going to open that with VLC. And YouTube, fair use. Fair use. I'm doing commentary on it. Let's mute the volume. And let's jump forward to some action scenes, and let's see how it does. Not bad. The fast forward's pretty good over wireless. You see it's buffering here. Here we go. Here's an action scene, and let's bring up our task manager while that's running. That will help us prevent a copyright strike. There we go. We got some action going on here. Let's get to the point where he's on the spaceship flying off the planet. There we go. And you can see our CPU usage is 10-11%. We're getting good throughput over the Wi-Fi. We're getting up 40 megabits per second. And this is why I hate this little BMB. I wish they would be consistent. We had a little stutter, a little freeze there. You can see why I don't like streaming high def over wireless. Or direct playing it over wireless, but it is working. It is working, but you can see we got some stutters there in the wireless, so yeah, but it's acceptable. I can deal with that. So here we are at idle. It's pulling about under 20 watts. It's pulling about 15 to 16 watts at idle. CPU usage at 1% or less. About half of the, or I'm sorry, 2/3 of the memory is in use right now. No disk activity, and the Wi-Fi, there's no data being transferred. So yeah, good little machine. Like I said, this is my partner's daughter's machine. It's an Asus laptop, and with an i3, and it's working really well, running Windows 10. We put an SSD in here. It's like a brand new machine. Her complaint was, she's a 13-year-old girl who uses this. Her complaint was it was locking up all the time. It used to have Windows 7 on it, and it had the Seagate spinning hard drive in there. That's the one we replaced. Now all of her data is still on there should her father need to get it off of there, but I think we have a successful upgrade of a laptop, and she should get at least another 5 or 6 years out of this. This will probably take her right up to the going to college, unless there's some huge fundamental change in the way computers are made or function. This should serve her well for quite a long time to come. So there you go, YouTube. All told, that install of that SSD drive, the install of Windows 10, and the updates and configuration took probably a total of a couple of hours. And most of that time was sitting around waiting for Windows to install. And I gotta tell you, I'm pretty impressed with the performance of this old laptop. You know, I didn't even bother to see what year that X54C laptop came out. So let me look at that, because I want to get an idea of how old this unit is. Wow. Okay. Wow. This is really amazing. So you want to know what year that that laptop came out? That was in October of 2012. That's very interesting. That makes that laptop 7 years old. So by spending $40-50 on it, now this already had Windows 7 Home Premium, so when you install your Windows 10, you install the same version, the Windows 10 Home, and use the key off the Windows 7, and it will activate that Windows 10, so you don't even have the cost of a license. Now, if you don't have your product key, you're out of luck. You're going to have to find some place to buy Windows 10 Home. But yeah, that's very interesting. That laptop came out in 2012, and you know, for day-to-day web browsing and viewing 720p video, it's going to be fine. I would not honestly give you more than about $100 on this laptop used. Some of the things I don't like about it, doesn't have a backlit keyboard and that kind of thing. So, and that's, you know, it's mainly for us old guys that want the backlit keyboards, because we have trouble seeing, especially you know, in a living room environment where the lights may be down a little bit lower. Now the other thing this goes to show you is, don't just throw that laptop away if they start running slow, or you got some kludgy software on there. You know, here's what most people do. They take the OS home, they run it for a few months, they start adding and removing programs, and you know, the kids click on this link and that, and then, you know, just the operating system just gets kludged up with crap, and usually a clean load will return it back to sanity. I also recommend this if you ever buy a laptop from Best Buy or any place like that, and it comes preloaded with all that crapware. I don't know that that's such a big problem today, but the first thing I recommend people to do is, one, don't get a laptop without an SSD. You're not going to be happy. And two, if you do get one of those laptops that has all that crapware on it, either clean load the machine with your backup copy of Windows 10, or go out and uninstall all those unneeded programs. You don't need antivirus, you don't need anti-malware. It's built into Windows 10. It's very sufficient. For God's sakes, don't load add-on antivirus programs to Windows 10. They're just not gonna protect you any more than the built-in antivirus and anti-malware software. So there you go. So anyway, YouTube, we hope you found this video entertaining and informative as always. Leave your comments down in the comment section. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. We take PayPal, we take Patreon if you're inclined to donate. Keep the channel up and running. Keep some good content coming to you. Don't forget, thanks for coming to see us, and that we will see you on the other side.